Welcome to Timekeeping. This show will attempt to chronicle year-by-year changes to the Walt Disney World Resort, from the excitement of a new attraction opening to the minutia of a store changing names. Join us as we continue our celebration of 50 years of the Walt Disney World Resort. 2007 was a big year for Walt Disney World. You're not going to remember any marquee attractions that opened or closed that year, but it saw a lot of little things that happened, such as refurbishments, restaurant changes, and yeah, some attractions did actually debut. Two classics were modernized with mixed receptions, hated eyesores went away, and Epcot's 25th anniversary saw the company react to online fans in a way that had never happened before. Starting with Main Street USA at the Magic Kingdom, the cinema would close on October 12th, removing the virtual Magic Kingdom exhibits and reopening as the Art of Disney on November 22nd. With the shop inside Cinderella Castle gone, the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique would replace the King's Gallery on September 10th, providing makeovers to kids ages 3 to 12. This would also mark the first year of the beloved Cinderella Castle Dreamlights, which premiered on November 9th with the accompanying show Cinderella's Holiday Wish. The Dreamlights themselves were over 200,000 LED lights draped over the entire castle, making it appear to glow with a sheet of ice. Cinderella's Holiday Wish began with Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, and Donald squabbling over how to decorate the castle, when the fairy godmother would appear on the balcony and remind them that the castle actually belonged to Cinderella. Cinderella and Prince Charming join the classic characters on stage, where she decides she wants the castle to sparkle like one of her glass slippers. With some help from the crowd, the fairy godmother illuminates the castle in segments. The budget for the Cinderella Castle Dreamlights actually came from the cancellation of the Country Bear Christmas special the year prior. It allowed for there to be money to make this offering. The SpectroMagic Nighttime Parade began to receive some technical upgrades and changes, including the removal of the SpectroMen masks in favor of more human, face-painted looks with fiber-optic wigs. Some new illuminating firework effects were added to the finale units as well. The Haunted Mansion underwent its biggest refurbishment of its life at the Magic Kingdom, closing on June 6th and reopening just in time for the Halloween season on September 13th. The ride received 4 major scene changes in addition to many upgrades. The upgrades began in the stretching room with a whole new audio system that allowed the ghost host's voice to move around the room. After loading into their Doom buggies, guests would then pass the changing portraits of the Sinister 11. Following that, a new hallway with changing portraits that would change in time to a lightning strike was added. The largest scene replacement happened with the old staircase with the neon spiders and webs, which was replaced with the Grand Staircase, an M.C. Escher-inspired effect using forced perspective to have staircases moving in all and any possible directions. Madame Leota was freed from her table and her crystal ball would now float in the air. And finally, the attic scene was replaced with a new bride, Constance Hatchaway, with her and portraits of her dead husbands changing using projections to show she had decapitated them. The other scenes were all enhanced and cleaned up as well. Over in Tomorrowland, the Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor officially opened after testing on April 2nd. Originally, it was going to be called the Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor Comedy Club, but that was dropped as the name confused guests. Part of the Living Character Initiative, the show features much of the same technology as Turtle Talk with Crush, allowing animated characters to appear on screen and interact with guests in person. The show features pre-recorded bits between Roz and Mike Wazowski, and a mix of scripted and improv bits from 3 different monster characters throughout the show. These characters could change, but most commonly featured a 2-headed creature, often called Sam and Ella, a monster demonstrating psychic abilities called Buddy Boyle, and a smaller version of Mike named Marty Wazowski. Each of the characters interacts with the crowd via theater cameras and a cast member with microphone, but in different ways. Some ask guests to take the roles of Monsters, Inc. characters to retell the film's story, or start a geography quiz. Buddy tries to read a guest's mind, and Marty takes text-submitted jokes from the audience. The nature of the show means it is constantly being updated. In fact, a pre-show was added later that year on November 12th. January 2007 also saw the addition of a non-holiday party event to the Magic Kingdom, Mickey's Pirate and Princess Parties. Similar in operation to Mickey's Not So Scary or Mickey's Very Merry, this event was used to fill in during some of the less busy times of year. For the event, some park areas received new names. Adventureland was broken up into New Tortuga and Jasmine's Court. Liberty Square was the Riverboat Riviera. Fantasyland included Ariel's Court, the Princess Pavilion in Toontown Fair, and Tomorrowland was called Solaris's System. Each of these areas had special entertainment and meet and greets. Captain Jack's Pirate Tutorial, where Jack Sparrow teaches kids how to be a pirate. The Legend of the Jolly Roger Haunted Riverboat, where guests could ride the Liberty Bell with special ghostly pirate narration. Princess Jasmine's Royal Guard Recruitment taught guests how to protect a princess, and various dance parties and musical acts throughout the park made up the entertainment. The event also featured its very own fireworks and parade. The Magic, Music, and Mayhem Fireworks Spectacular starts being introduced by the fairy godmother, who is then joined by Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather discussing adventure and romance. The show rotates through princess-themed music before Sebastian and King Triton decided to highlight romance and adventure under the sea. This is until Captain Hook takes over and assaults the castle, seeming to blow it up. Of course, Tinkerbell would show up to save the day, running off Captain Hook, and the show would end in a battle between pink and blue fireworks and a massive perimeter fireworks grand finale. It was one of the greatest fireworks shows in the history of the Disney theme parks. Disney's Enchanted Adventures Parade began with knights riding on horseback, followed by Snow White and her prince in a horse-drawn carriage. The dwarfs followed, and then the royal court dancers. Aurora and Prince Philip then appear in the gazebo float, tailed by the three fairies and more dancers. The next float features the fairy godmother with Cinderella and Prince Charming, Belle and the Beast, and Ariel and Eric. The Agrabah guards led the way for Aladdin and Jasmine on horseback, and pirate dancers transitioned to the pirate ship float, being pursued by zombie pirates and Jack Sparrow aboard a treasure float. Peter Pan, Wendy, and the Lost Boys followed with Tinkerbell sitting atop a treasure chest. The parade ended with the mirrored castle float manned by the Fab Five characters in pirate and princess costumes. The most noticeable change at Epcot in 2007 wasn't even to an attraction, a shop, or a restaurant. It was the removal of the infamous Sorcerer's Wand above Spaceship Earth. Originally added for the Millennium Celebration, the structure was dismantled over the summer as part of the Spaceship Earth refurbishment, as sponsor Siemens decided it should come down. After a soft opening to guests on December 6th, with an announced opening of December 21st, the anchor attraction Spaceship Earth, as we just mentioned sponsored by Siemens, received not only a new narration, but new scenes and a new ending, as well as a whole new theme song by Bruce Broughton. Gone was the history of communication storyline solely, with a new version telling the story of human scientific advancement and how communication played a role in that. It was all narrated by Dame Judi Dench. Guest photos were now taken on the Ascent, and guests could identify their hometown and choose the ride language on newly added touchscreens in each row. After that, new projections appeared in both the Mammoth and Caveman scenes. The ancient Greek play was removed and replaced with a mathematics lesson. The chariot projection in Rome was gone, but the burning scene referred to the Library of Alexandria now. Musicians disappeared from the Renaissance scene, and the statue and paintings were altered. The extra paperboy now faced away from guests. Animatronics were changed in the telecommunications scenes, removed from the radio booth, added to the TV watching scene, and after that, the ride was completely changed. Instead of children using computers to translate and talk to each other from the US to Japan and a futuristic city, a computer mainframe room and the invention of the personal computer in a garage are presented. The Descent removed all of its show scenes, and guests are now prompted to answer some questions for a flash-style animated video of their future is presented using the photos taken at the beginning of the ride. After that, guests would be deposited into the unload area and the new Project Tomorrow post-show. Replacing the global neighborhood, Project Tomorrow featured an array of new interactive exhibits and games and actually opened before the ride all the way back on April 25th. Exhibits included Bodybuilder, Inner Vision, and Power City, as well as Super Driver. Inside Innoventions, Disney's Internet Zone, The Look into the Future, and Tom Morrow 2.0's Playground all closed. The Epcot Character Spot opened in Innoventions West in May, and Fountain View became an ice cream shop in August after temporarily becoming a wine bar for Food and Wine 2006. Epcot's 25th Anniversary Gallery would open behind all this in October. As for the actual anniversary celebration, it included a rededication of the park on October 1st. The entire event was prompted by fans planning their own event after they saw Disney was planning on doing nothing. The amount of media attention forced Disney's hand, and they had to have a one-day celebration. Rushed in at the last minute was said rededication ceremony, a line of merchandise, the anniversary exhibit we already talked about, and as well a special fireworks tag to Illumination's Reflections of Earth, celebrating the history of the park. January 1st, 2007 saw the final closure of the Wonders of Life Pavilion after years of seasonal operation. The exhibit space was modified and the dome became home to the Festival Center beginning at the International Food and Wine Festival that year. Though it had been running for months, the Seas with Nemo and Friends officially opened on January 4th. Soarin' received an interactive queue game in July. These motion-sensitive games, like Xbox Kinect games, had guests raising terrain, growing plants, filling in pictures, steering birds, and bouncing balls with the waves of their arms. World Showcase was undergoing several changes to opening day restaurants at the time. La Originale Alfredo di Roma Ristorante, located in Italy, closed on August 31st to be replaced by Tutto Italia a few weeks later on September 19th. After a longer closure, Teppan Edo and Tokyo Dining replaced the second-floor restaurants in Japan on October 7th. The American Adventure received the new exhibit, National Treasures, based off the Nicolas Cage movies on September 28th. This exhibit would feature well-known and some more obscure items from American history, including one of Abraham Lincoln's hats, space program artifacts, items from Rosa Parks, and Jackie Robinson in a rotating collection. The original O Canada closed on August 6th to be updated with a new film with the same title, opening on September 1st. The new Circle Vision movie, narrated by theme park film veteran Martin Short, featured new footage in addition to footage from the 1982 version, and some even dating back to the Disney-produced film for the Host Pavilion at Expo 67 in Montreal. Spanning from the Bay of Fundy to the Bouchard Gardens, across all seasons, the new travelogue film takes a much lighter, self-aware look at the country, making references to being an Epcot film. The highlights include Canada's natural beauty, flora, and fauna, as well as its people and culture, taking time to show the Calgary Stampede, Cirque du Soleil, and a ton of Canadian celebrities. The original theme song returned, now sung by Canadian Idol winner Ava Avila. This will be the last time we talk about the Disney MGM Studios on Timekeeping, as in August, Disney announced the park would change its name to Disney's Hollywood Studios next year. High School Musical Pep Rally moved to become a mini parade at MGM from Tomorrowland at the Magic Kingdom on January 22nd, only to be updated to the sequel and become High School Musical 2 Schools Out on September 23rd. In August, a new themed meet and greet area opened next to Playhouse Disney Live on Stage. August 31st saw a new lighting package for the Sorcerer's Hat debut, giving the park icon new life at night. Originally a part of Star Wars Weekends, the Jedi Training Academy received a permanent home at the studios on October 9th. The show, which ran several times a day, took approximately 16 children, dressed them as Jedi younglings, and showed them basic lightsaber moves. After getting basic instructions, Darth Vader and or Darth Maul would appear, and the children would take turns showing off their moves in quick battles with the Sith Lords. At Disney's Animal Kingdom, Finding Nemo the Musical officially opened on January 24th, even though it had already had a media event and had been running for 2.5 months. The number of table service restaurants in the park would triple in November as the Yak and Yeti restaurant, along with its counter service component, the Local Foods Cafe, opened on November 14th. Both locations focused on an Asian-inspired menu to go along with their location in the park. They would be operated by Landry's, the same company that operates the Rainforest Cafe location outside the park. Tusker House closed as a counter service restaurant on August 28th and reopened as a table service buffet on November 18th. Restaurantosaurus Breakfast was discontinued at this time as Tusker House would take over that offering. The lunch and dinner menus featured accessible African-inspired cuisine. Sadly, on November 23rd, a cast member was fatally injured after falling and being struck by a ride vehicle on the Primeval Whirl attraction in Dino-Rama. Significant construction began at Disney's Contemporary Resort as the Racquet Club and North Wing began to be demolished on January 30th to make way for the then unannounced Disney Vacation Club Wing, eventually known as Bay Lake Tower. The tower wouldn't even be announced until all of the floors had been built in this space years later. In the main A-frame building, the shops on the Grand Canyon Concourse were being reconfigured and the Food and Fun Center was closed. The monorail platform at the Polynesian received a new roof. In June, all Walt Disney World resorts went smokeless with designated smoking areas. Disney's Saratoga Springs Resort also opened 2 new areas, the Carousel and the Grandstand, both opening in the summer. In its continuing adjustments to Pleasure Island, all clubs, aside from the Adventurers Club and Comedy Warehouse, went 21 and up at the beginning of the year. The Year of a Million Dreams promotion was extended through 2008, since it didn't give out enough prizes to satisfy its own published rules. From the outside, 2007 looked like new management was beginning to come into its own. Updates and expansion were going full steam, and several long-needed refurbishments took place. There were larger plans on the horizon, and more was to come after that, but as we know, 2008 would see outside economic pressures change the resort for years to come. Well, time sure flies. If you're enjoying this jump from time to time with us, please hit the like button and please subscribe for this program and others. You can support this show and others by joining the WDWNT Inner Globe Society at patreon.com/WDWNT. To get the perfect gear to celebrate 50 years of Walt Disney World, you can shop at carouselofproducts.com. We'll see you real soon right here on Timekeeping.